Good day, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Let's begin with one of the most fascinating questions. If Mosasaurus lived in the deep sea today and encountered a blue whale, who would truly be the king of the deep sea? Whether a biological machine optimized for the warm, shallow seas of the late Cretaceous could function in the high-pressure, near-freezing environment of the modern abyss, this is a bioenergetic stress test, and the results might surprise you. If you enjoy these deep dives into speculative biology and paleoecology, please comment 1. And we'll examine the physiological compatibility of Mosasaurus with modern deep-sea conditions. Mosasaurus hoffmanii is apex predator of the late Cretaceous, was among the largest and most formidable marine reptiles to ever exist. Fossil evidence suggests adults reached lengths of 20 to 40 meters, or roughly 40 to 45 feet, with body masses exceeding 10 metric tons. Some contested estimates have pushed this to 17 meters. The skull of Mosasaurus was a masterpiece of predatory engineering. Measuring over 1 meter in length, it featured an elongated snout and jaws lined with large, finely serrated teeth. Bite force estimates vary, but biomechanical reconstructions suggest Mosasaurus could exert pressures exceeding 13,000 to 16,000 pounds per square inch. That's comparable to Tyrannosaurus rex and significantly higher than any living crocodilian. This immense bite force was paired with a unique dental arrangement. Beyond the marginal teeth lining the jaws, Mosasaurus possessed a second row of teeth on the palate, the pterygoid teeth. These functioned as a ratchet system, gripping prey and walking the jaws forward to reposition or engulf struggling victims. The body was hydrodynamically streamlined with a powerful crescent-shaped fluke similar in structure to modern sharks. This provided the thrust necessary for burst-speed attacks. While exact measurements are difficult to determine, most researchers agree Mosasaurus could reach speeds of approximately 48 kilometers per hour or 30 miles per hour in short bursts. This made it an effective ambush predator, capable of explosive acceleration from concealment. For decades, mosasaurs were assumed to be ectothermic or cold-blooded, like their monitor lizard relatives. However, oxygen isotope analysis of tooth phosphate indicates that derived mosasaurs like Mosasaurus and Plotosaurus maintained body temperatures ranging from about 91 to 97 degrees Fahrenheit, independent of ambient water temperature. This suggests they were endothermic or possessed high-mass gigantothermy. The diet of Mosasaurus was broad and opportunistic. Fossil evidence, including stomach contents, tooth wear patterns, and bite marks on prey fossils, indicate it fed on large fish, sharks, cephalopods, ammonites, sea turtles, and even other marine reptiles. This dietary flexibility, combined with its size and power, positioned Mosasaurus as the dominant apex predator of its ecosystem. However, while Mosasaurus had excellent vision, likely with binocular capabilities and a field of view of approximately 28 degrees, its other senses, such as smell, were not particularly refined compared to modern marine predators. Being at the top of the food chain, the only real threat to a mature Mosasaurus came from others of its own kind. Fossil evidence reveals healed bite marks and punctures matching mosasaur dentition, telling stories of brutal intraspecific combat. Fights over territory, dominance, or mates were likely common. The late Cretaceous oceans were a greenhouse world. Sea surface temperatures in the mid-latitudes ranged from about 82 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Even deep ocean waters were significantly warmer, estimated between about 50 and 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The Western Interior Seaway and Tethys Ocean, primary habitats for Mosasaurus, were warm, shallow epicontinental seas with high biological productivity. The vertical temperature gradient was relatively shallow, meaning a diving predator didn't face a sudden, shocking thermal drop. Contrast this with the modern deep sea. Below the permanent thermocline at approximately 3,300 feet, water temperatures stabilize between about 32 and 39 degrees Fahrenheit globally. This is an icehouse environment. The hydrostatic pressure increases by about 1 atmosphere for every 33 feet of depth. At around 6,600 feet, the pressure reaches approximately 200 atmospheres. Light penetration ceases entirely below 3,300 feet in the aphotic zone, leaving organisms in absolute darkness, dependent on bioluminescence and non-visual senses. Can the biological machine function here? Mosasaurus maintained a body temperature of approximately 97 degrees Fahrenheit in waters that averaged about 68 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit during the Cretaceous. The thermal gradient, the difference between body temperature and ambient water temperature, was perhaps about 9 to 18 degrees Fahrenheit. In the modern deep sea, at around 39 degrees Fahrenheit, that thermal gradient explodes to about 58 degrees Fahrenheit. For Mosasaurus, every second spent in 39 degrees Fahrenheit water is a second of catastrophic energy hemorrhage. To maintain homeostasis, it would need to drastically increase its metabolic rate and thus its caloric intake, or it would suffer hypothermic torpor. Modern marine mammals, like the blue whale, are encased in blubber up to about 12 inches thick. This specialized, vascularized adipose tissue acts as high-efficiency insulation with extremely low thermal conductivity. It allows whales to maintain core temperatures with minimal metabolic waste. Mosasaurus, however, possessed a fundamentally different integument. Fossil impressions of related mosasaur genera reveal small, keeled, rhomboidal scales optimized for reducing drag and improving hydrodynamics. These scales offer negligible thermal insulation compared to blubber. While it's possible Mosasaurus had some subcutaneous fat, there is no fossil evidence of the massive structural blubber layers seen in cetaceans. Without this insulating capacity, Mosasaurus in 4-degree water would face rapid thermal dissipation. This creates what I call resource incompatibility. The deep sea is an oligotrophic, or nutrient-poor environment compared to the highly productive Cretaceous shelf seas. A predator requiring higher caloric intake to fight the cold in an environment with lower prey density faces an immediate energetic crisis. But perhaps it stays in the mesopelagic zone where temperatures are slightly warmer. Or perhaps it makes brief excursions into colder depths. This is where fossil evidence provides. A comprehensive study of mosasaur vertebrae revealed the presence of avascular necrosis in multiple specimens, including Mosasaurus hoffmanii. Avascular necrosis is a bone pathology caused by nitrogen bubble formation in the marrow and blood vessels due to rapid decompression. It's essentially the bends, the same condition that affects human divers who ascend too quickly. The presence of this pathology in mosasaur fossils tells us two crucial things. First, mosasaurs did dive deep and did so repetitively. Second, their physiology was imperfectly adapted to this behavior compared to modern deep-diving cetaceans.
Modern champions of deep diving, like the sperm whale and Cuvier's beaked whale, possess a specialized adaptation called thoracic collapse. Their rib cages are flexible, allowing the lungs to collapse completely at depth. This forces air away from the alveoli, the gas exchange surfaces, and into the non-absorptive trachea. This prevents nitrogen from dissolving into the bloodstream under pressure, rendering them effectively immune to the bends during routine deep dives. Mosasaurus possessed a barrel-shaped deep rib cage with a cartilaginous sternum. While this suggests some flexibility, the high incidence of avascular necrosis implies they lacked the complete pulmonary collapse mechanism of cetaceans. They were diving on held breath without the safety valve of lung collapse, accumulating nitrogen load that required slow, staged ascents to clear safely. A mosasaurus attempting to chase a blue whale or sperm whale into the bathypelagic zone at depths exceeding 1,000 meters would be operating on a nitrogen timer. While the whale can plummet to 2,000 meters and resurface rapidly without consequence, the mosasaurus is tethered by the physics of gas solubility. This differential in vertical mobility is a massive tactical disadvantage in the three-dimensional battle space of the open ocean. Modern marine mammals have evolved extremely high concentrations of myoglobin in their muscles. Myoglobin stores oxygen and prevents hypoxia during breath holds. Cetaceans have evolved myoglobin with a high net surface charge to prevent protein aggregation at high concentrations, allowing for supercharged oxygen stores. While Mosasaurus likely had elevated myoglobin compared to terrestrial lizards, estimates of diving capacity based on body mass and metabolic scaling suggest significantly shorter aerobic dive limits than cetaceans of similar mass. A sperm whale can stay submerged for 90 minutes to 2 hours. Mosasaurus, weighing significantly less and possessing a high burn metabolism without the optimized oxygen storage of 50 million years of mammalian aquatic evolution, likely had an aerobic dive limit closer to 20 to 30 minutes. This forces frequent resurfacing, exposing it to surface detection and limiting its hunting window in the deep. But despite these challenges, Mosasaurus brings something to the table that the modern ocean hasn't seen since the extinction of Megalodon. A macrophagous hypercarnivore with cutting dentition and bone-crushing bite force. It's a biological system breaker, and that weaponry deserves serious analysis. The question becomes, if Mosasaurus can survive in the modern ocean, even in a limited capacity, what happens when it encounters the current rulers of the sea? To answer that, we need to rigorously compare the offensive output of Mosasaurus against the defensive capabilities of the blue whale. On paper, Mosasaurus appears to be an unstoppable killing machine. That bite force of 13,000 to 16,000 pounds per square inch is genuinely terrifying. That's comparable to Tyrannosaurus rex at around 12,000 psi, and dramatically exceeds the strongest living crocodilians at approximately 3,700 psi. A great white shark, often considered the ocean's ultimate predator, maxes out at around 4,000 psi. Mosasaurus could theoretically bite through bone, crush turtle shells, and shear through flesh with devastating efficiency. The marginal teeth were robust, recurved, and bicarinate, meaning they had two cutting edges like steak knives. These teeth were designed for piercing initial defenses and then shearing through tissue as the jaws closed. But the real innovation was the pterygoid teeth on the roof of the mouth. This secondary row of teeth functioned as a biological ratchet system. Once Mosasaurus bit down on prey, these palatal teeth would grip and hold while the lower jaw repositioned, allowing the predator to walk its jaws forward over the prey item. This is similar to how modern snakes feed, but scaled up to a 15-ton marine reptile. Mosasaurus possessed a streptostylic quadrate and a kinetic intramandibular joint. This means the jaw could widen laterally to increase gape, and the lower jaw had a flexible joint in the middle that could absorb shock from struggling prey. This combination of features made Mosasaurus exceptionally good at gripping, repositioning, and processing large, powerful prey items that fought back violently. Now, a mature blue whale weighs between about 330,000 and 397,000 pounds and reaches lengths of about 98 feet. A large Mosasaurus hoffmanii is estimated at about 49 to 56 feet and approximately 33,000 pounds. The blue whale is roughly an order of magnitude heavier. The blue whale is encased in an integument system that's essentially biological armor. The skin and blubber layer can reach up to about 12 inches thick. Research on harbor porpoise and whale blubber indicates it functions as both insulation and shock absorption. The material has a yield strength, the point at which it begins to fail structurally, generally in the range of about 290 to 2,900 pounds per square inch, depending on orientation and depth. Mosasaurus, with its 16,000 psi bite force, would theoretically penetrate whale skin and blubber. The teeth would punch through the outer layers, but the blue whale's blubber layer functions as ablative armor. A bite depth of 6 to 8 inches, roughly the length of large mosasaur tooth crowns, might not reach vital organs through a 12-inch thick blubber layer. Mosasaurus would inflict a grievous surface wound. It would shear off massive chunks of blubber in what I call a cookie-cutter effect writ large. But Mosasaurus lacks the jaw width. The gape of Mosasaurus, even with its kinetic jaw joints, is measured in only about 1 to 2 feet. The diameter of a blue whale's torso is measured in many feet across. The predator simply cannot get its jaws around critical structures. Those palatal teeth are designed to hold prey that can be engulfed or at least substantially gripped. Against a blue whale, the diameter of the prey's body far exceeds the gape of the predator. The ratchet mechanism cannot function on what is essentially a flat surface of infinite radius relative to the jaw. Mosasaurus cannot walk its jaws over a blue whale. Meanwhile, the blue whale's primary weapon is kinetic energy. The tail flukes of a blue whale are massive, and when accelerated through water, they generate turbulence and physical impacts that would be catastrophic for a 15-ton reptile. We can calculate this roughly using basic Newtonian mechanics. Force equals mass times acceleration. A blue whale tail weighing several tons on its own, accelerating at even moderate speeds, generates force measured in meganewtons. That's millions of newtons of force.
The skeletal structure of Mosasaurus is robust but kinetic. It's designed for flexibility and shock absorption during its own attacks, not for resisting blunt force trauma from a battering ram 10 times its size. A direct hit from blue whale flukes could fracture the delicate kinetic joints of the skull, shatter ribs, or cause catastrophic internal injuries. There are documented cases of orcas being killed or severely injured by whale tail strikes, and orcas are more agile and arguably more durable than Mosasaurus would be. So what's the ecological verdict on a Mosasaurus versus blue whale encounter? In a one-on-one confrontation, Mosasaurus is not a predator of healthy adult blue whales. It's a parasitic nuisance at best. Now, here's where the analysis takes a crucial turn. The question posed was whether Mosasaurus or blue whale would be king of the deep sea. But I would argue that neither of them is the true king. The blue whale is a grazer, a mountain of biomass that reigns through sheer size, but occupies a relatively passive ecological role. It filters krill. It's not competing for apex predator status. The animal that Mosasaurus should actually fear is the sperm whale. Sperm whales are smaller than blue whales, with large males reaching about 16 meters or 52 feet and weighing up to 45 tons. But they are purpose-built deep-sea hunters with adaptations that would make them absolutely dominant over Mosasaurus in almost every scenario. First, there's biosonar. The sperm whale possesses the most powerful biological sonar system on Earth. The spermaceti organ in its massive head can generate clicks exceeding 230 decibels. These clicks are used for echolocation, allowing sperm whales to map their environment and detect prey at distances of several kilometers. They hunt giant squid in absolute darkness at depths exceeding about 6,600 feet, using nothing but sound. In a tactical sense, this is like comparing a modern submarine with active sonar to a World War I destroyer. The technological gap is insurmountable. Second, sperm whales are true masters of deep diving. They routinely dive to about 6,600 feet and can reach depths of around 9,800 feet or more. Third, while sperm whales lack the cutting teeth of Mosasaurus, they possess their own formidable weaponry. The lower jaw is lined with large conical teeth designed for gripping giant squid. But the real weapon is the head itself. The spermaceti organ, that massive oil-filled structure, can be used as a biological battering ram. There are historical accounts of sperm whales ramming and sinking whaling ships. The most famous case is the Essex, which inspired Moby Dick. A 50-ton sperm whale ramming at speed generates kinetic energy that would obliterate a 15-ton Mosasaurus. The impact would be like being hit by a freight train. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, is intelligence. Sperm whales have the largest brain of any animal on Earth, weighing up to about 20 pounds. In a conflict scenario, a sperm whale could coordinate with pod members, use echolocation to track Mosasaurus movements, and employ tactical ramming or evasive maneuvers that a reptilian brain simply couldn't anticipate or counter. This is why I argue that if Mosasaurus is the Tyrannosaurus rex of the deep, then the sperm whale is a nuclear submarine with active sonar and torpedoes. It's not even a fair fight. The technological and physiological gap is too vast. But to be king of the deep sea, you must be able to perceive your kingdom. And in the bathypelagic zone, perception is everything. The deep sea below 3,300 feet is a realm of absolute darkness. No sunlight penetrates to these depths. The only illumination comes from bioluminescence, the chemical light produced by organisms themselves. In this environment, vision, as we understand it, becomes nearly useless unless you have specialized adaptations. Mosasaurus possessed large eyes with sclerotic rings, bony structures that support eye shape against pressure and allow for accommodation or focus adjustment. These are good adaptations for a visual predator, but they're not specialized for the abyss. The eyes of Mosasaurus were proportional to those of a diurnal surface hunter. They were not hypertrophied or enlarged like the eyes of deep-sea specialists. Compare this to Ophthalmosaurus, a Jurassic ichthyosaur that had absolutely massive eyes, some of the largest in the animal kingdom relative to body size. Those eyes were adaptations for capturing dim light in deep or murky water. Mosasaurus shows no such specialization. In the pitch black of 1,000-meter depth, it would be functionally blind. Now, some mosasaurs did evolve better low-light vision. Phosphorosaurus ponpetaligans, a smaller relative from Japan, evolved binocular vision adapted for nocturnal hunting. This proved the mosasaur lineage could adapt to low-light conditions. But Mosasaurus hoffmanii itself, the species we're analyzing, does not show these specializations. It was a daytime hunter of well-lit surface waters. Dropping it into the abyss is like asking a hawk to hunt in a cave. The sensory system is mismatched to the environment. The mosasaur ear was adapted for underwater hearing, but it lacked the high-frequency sophistication of odontocetes or toothed whales. Based on endocranial casts and comparisons with modern reptiles, mosasaurs likely heard low frequencies similar to modern monitor lizards and sea turtles. Blue whales communicate using infrasound at frequencies between 10 and 40 Hz. These are sounds below the range of human hearing, deep rumbles that can travel several hundred miles through the ocean. Mosasaurus might detect the presence of this low-frequency sound, might feel the vibration in its body, but it would lack the directional resolution to pinpoint the whale's location without visual confirmation. It's like hearing thunder and knowing a storm is nearby, but having no idea which direction it's coming from. This sensory deficit is crippling. Modern apex predators of the deep sea, whether we're talking about sperm whales, beaked whales, or even large sharks, all possess sophisticated sensory systems adapted to the environment. There is one sensory system that Mosasaurus did possess that might offer some advantage: the lateral line system. Fossil evidence shows that mosasaurs had numerous foramina, small openings on the snout and lower jaw that housed nerves for mechanoreception. This is similar to the lateral line system in fish, which detects water movement and pressure changes. In theory, a mosasaurus could use this system to detect the displacement of water caused by a large whale swimming nearby. But this is a short-range sense, effective at distances of only a few to a few dozen feet, not the miles of range that echolocation provides. So, at best, Mosasaurus could operate in the mesopelagic zone, the twilight zone between about 650 and 3,300 feet, where some dim light still penetrates and its vision would have marginal utility. But even there, it would be at a severe disadvantage compared to animals that have spent millions of years adapting to those exact conditions. Everything we've discussed so far assumes we're dropping a Cretaceous Mosasaurus into the modern ocean and asking if it survives immediately. But evolution doesn't work on human timescales. If a population of Mosasaurus somehow survived the initial thermal shock, the competitive pressure, and the pathogen exposure, natural selection would begin reshaping them immediately. Over 1 to 5 million years, we would see the emergence of new species, mosasaurs adapted specifically for the modern deep sea. Let me introduce you to a speculative descendant, Mosasaurus abyssalis, the abyssal mosasaur. This is applying the principles of convergent evolution and natural selection to predict how Mosasaurus would have to change to truly dominate the modern ocean. And the changes would be dramatic. Mosasaurus abyssalis would evolve a thick layer of blubber, just like cetaceans did. This isn't unprecedented. We see convergent evolution of blubber in multiple marine lineages. Cetaceans evolved it. Pinnipeds like seals and sea lions evolved it. Even the leatherback sea turtle has a modified version using oil-saturated connective tissue. The genetic pathways for adipose tissue development exist in reptiles. Under intense selective pressure, where individuals with even slightly thicker subcutaneous fat layers survive longer in cold water, those traits would be amplified over generations. Within a few 100,000 years, you'd see mosasaurs with noticeably thicker skin and fat deposits. Within 1 million years, you'd have true blubber, a vascularized adipose layer that provides both insulation and energy storage. The scales would reduce in size or become embedded in the blubber layer, creating a smoother, more streamlined body surface. The result would be a reptilian whale, an animal that looks superficially similar to a cetacean, but is built on a reptilian chassis. Mosasaurus abyssalis would need to evolve a collapsible rib cage similar to that of sperm whales. The mosasaur rib cage already showed some flexibility with its cartilaginous sternum. Under selective pressure, where individuals capable of deeper, safer dives without nitrogen accumulation have better access to prey, the rib structure would become increasingly flexible. Ribs would become more cartilaginous. The sternum would develop hinge-like joints, and the entire thoracic cavity would gain the ability to collapse under pressure,
forcing air into the trachea and away from the alveoli. This adaptation would take longer to evolve, perhaps 2 to 3 million years. Mosasaurus abyssalis could dive to around 6,600 feet or more without risk of the bends. It could chase sperm whales into the abyss and compete on equal terms in the vertical battle space. Re-evolving echolocation from scratch is genetically complex and unlikely. Echolocation in cetaceans required the evolution of specialized nasal structures, the melon, a fatty organ that focuses sound, and highly modified cochlear structures to process returning echoes. That's a lot of evolutionary steps. But Mosasaurus doesn't need to copy cetaceans exactly. It can evolve alternative solutions. The most likely adaptation would be hypertrophy of the lateral line system. Those foramina on the snout that housed mechanoreceptive nerves would expand and multiply. The nerves themselves would become more sensitive, capable of detecting minute pressure changes in the water. Additionally, the eyes would undergo hypertrophy, becoming massive like those of Ophthalmosaurus or the colossal squid. Larger eyes capture more photons, making them more effective in low light conditions. The retina would develop a higher density of rod cells, the photoreceptors responsible for night vision, and possibly a tapetum lucidum, a reflective layer behind the retina that bounces light back through the photoreceptors for a second chance at detection. These are all adaptations we see in modern deep-sea predators.
And this is where things get really interesting. Mosasaurus abyssalis might evolve bioluminescence. This is not as far-fetched as it sounds. Bioluminescence has evolved independently in marine organisms dozens of times. It's one of the most common examples of convergent evolution in the ocean. Many deep-sea fish, squid, and even some sharks have bioluminescent capabilities, usually through symbiotic relationships with bioluminescent bacteria. Mosasaurus abyssalis could develop specialized skin patches or glands that house colonies of bioluminescent bacteria. These could serve multiple functions. A bioluminescent lure on the tip of the snout or tongue could attract curious fish and squid. Similar to the anglerfish strategy, but scaled up to a 15-meter predator. Photophores on the ventral side, the belly, could provide counter-illumination, breaking up the silhouette of the mosasaur when viewed from below against the faint light from above. This is a common camouflage strategy in the mesopelagic zone. Bioluminescence could also serve a communication function. Mosasaurus abyssalis might use light patterns to signal to other members of its species, coordinating hunts or establishing territories. This would be particularly useful if the species evolved pack hunting behavior, which brings us to the behavioral adaptations. In the modern ocean, cooperative hunting is a massive advantage. Orcas hunt in pods. Dolphins hunt in pods. Even some shark species show coordinated behavior. If Mosasaurus abyssalis evolved social structures and pack hunting tactics, it would become exponentially more dangerous. A lone mosasaur might struggle to take down a healthy blue whale, but a coordinated group of 5 to 10 individuals could absolutely succeed. This is actually the basis for one of our speculative descendant species, Mosasaurus volocus, the sea wolf. This species, averaging 6 to 8 meters in length and 3 to 4 tons in weight, abandons the brute strength approach of its ancestors in favor of speed, agility, and pack coordination.
Volocus would specialize in hunting medium-sized prey like tuna, swordfish, seals, and small sharks, operating much like a marine wolf pack. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Mosasaurus venatus, the venomous sea dragon. This species takes a completely different evolutionary path, focusing on power, patience, and biochemical warfare. Reaching lengths of 10 to 11 meters and weights of 7 to 8 tons, Venatus is a heavy-bodied ambush predator. Its defining adaptation is the evolution of venom glands that produce anticoagulant compounds, similar to those found in Komodo dragons and some snake species. These two speculative species, Volocus and Venatus, represent different evolutionary solutions to the same problem. How does a Cretaceous predator adapt to dominate the modern ocean? One becomes faster, more social, and more cooperative. The other becomes more patient, more toxic, and more persistent. Both strategies are viable, and in reality, we might see multiple mosasaur lineages diverging to fill different ecological niches, just as the original mosasaurs diversified during the Cretaceous. Mosasaurus abyssalis would hunt sperm whales in the darkness, using pressure sensors to track them and powerful jaws to inflict crippling wounds. It would target blue whales, not trying to kill them outright, but shearing off their tail flukes to cripple their mobility, then following them until blood loss and exhaustion make them vulnerable. It would force whales to migrate to different regions or evolve new defenses. The entire structure of the ocean's apex predator guild would shift.
In this future ocean, Mosasaurus abyssalis is the king. Not because it won a fight, but because it adapted, evolved, and claimed the throne through millions of years of natural selection. This is the ultimate lesson of evolutionary biology. Dominance is not about who is strongest right now. It's about who can change, who can adapt, and who can survive long enough for their descendants to inherit the world. Now let's talk about the growth curve. Adult mosasaurs are formidable, but they don't hatch at 15 tons. Based on what we know about mosasaur reproduction from fossil evidence, they were likely ovoviviparous, giving birth to live young rather than laying eggs. The young would be born at sea, probably measuring 1 to 2 meters in length and weighing perhaps 20 to 50 kilograms. At this size, juvenile mosasaurs would be vulnerable to a huge range of predators. Large sharks, orcas, false killer whales, and even adult mosasaurs of their own species would all pose threats. This is the most dangerous phase of the life cycle. Juvenile survival rates would likely be low, perhaps 10 to 20% reaching adulthood. This is actually consistent with what we see in modern marine predators. Great white sharks have low juvenile survival. Sea turtles have extremely low hatchling survival. The ocean is a brutal environment for young animals. For Mosasaurus populations to be viable in the modern ocean, they would need high reproductive rates to compensate for high juvenile mortality. Females would need to produce multiple offspring per reproductive event and reproduce frequently. They would also need to select nursery habitats that offer some protection for young. Shallow bays, lagoons, and reef systems with complex structure would be ideal. Over time, we might see mosasaurs developing site fidelity, returning to the same breeding and nursery grounds year after year,
similar to sea turtles and some shark species. Now, let's address the original question one final time with all our analysis complete. If Mosasaurus lived in the deep sea today and met a blue whale, who would truly be the king of the deep sea? The answer is nuanced and depends on how we define king. If we define it as the largest animal, the blue whale wins. It's the largest animal to ever exist on Earth, and Mosasaurus doesn't come close to matching that mass. If we define it as the most powerful predator, the answer is neither. The sperm whale, with its biosonar, deep diving ability, and intelligence, is the true apex predator of the deep sea. Mosasaurus cannot match its capabilities in that environment. If we define king as the most successful at survival and reproduction, the answer changes over time. In the immediate term, blue whales and sperm whales remain dominant because they're perfectly adapted to current conditions. Mosasaurus is struggling. But in deep time, after millions of years of evolution, Mosasaurus descendants like Abyssalis, Velicus, and Venomous could absolutely claim the throne. They would represent a new category of apex predator, combining reptilian efficiency with mammalian adaptations, creating something the ocean has never seen before. In the end, the king of the deep sea is not determined by a battle. It's determined by who is still there after the environment has tested every weakness, after competitors have exploited every vulnerability, and after millions of years have passed. By that measure, the true kings are the survivors, the adapters, and the evolvers. If you enjoyed this deep dive into speculative biology and paleoecology, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you think Mosasaurus abyssalis would hunt in pods or remain a solitary ambush predator? Would you rather see Velicus or Venomous in the modern ocean? What other extinct predators should we analyze for modern ocean survival? I read every comment and love hearing your ideas. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.